everyone, Michael Cole here, VP of Marketing at Everflow. We're back for part two, exciting first time event. We have Wade from Fanatics, and we're gonna be talking all things about conferences and where it fits in terms of affiliate management and like where it's important versus other activities you should be doing. So just to get us started, Wade said that he just came back from a conference in Prague. So what were you out in Prague for?
Yeah, I was at a show called TES Affiliate, and it was interesting. And I've been on this kind of mission this year. I've been trying to check out pretty much all the shows I can, just because we're really working on kind of leaning into growth in Europe and internationally. And so I didn't really have a pretty good feel for the show environment and conference environment. So I've been kind of getting out and checking out everything that I could. And, some of them we've just been attending, some of them we've been doing some sponsorship with. This one we actually did, we sponsored the Texas Hold'em poker tournament, which was actually a lot of fun. It was pretty cool. I actually got to play with a pro. And I was very happy that I actually hung in there for about 35 minutes before they sent me out for coffee. And but it was cool. And, I found out that it's probably not, the show that I want to, do stuff with in the future, because, a lot of the shows in Europe kind of tend a little bit more towards dating and adult and crypto and, so, and what probably wasn't an amazing fit for us from the standpoint of, finding a lot of publishers. But it was, for me, having been in the industry for a long time, one of the things I will acknowledge is that a lot of the innovation in the industry comes out of the adult space and gaming and stuff like that, because there's a lot of money in it. So smart people flow into those spaces. And so, kind of hearing what they're talking about, checking out some of the other sessions, as being somebody who likes to watch out for the gray hat, black hat stuff that's going on, having an understanding of what people are talking about from those perspectives was pretty cool. So, all in all, I'll call it kind of a neutral result, but it was a good show for what it was.
Yeah, we sent our team last year, and all I remember is like looking over the agenda and it mentioning that there's a sausage table where you can go over and try the local sausage. And I was like, that sounds pretty great. I'm a little jealous of the team.
The sausage table was legit. I mean, the food, I will say that the food and drinks at this were some of the best I've had at any show. And it was funny because it wasn't anything like crazy fancy, but it was just like very available, good local stuff, pretty low key. And there's an awful lot of people people are spending like 2 hours hanging out in front of the hotel. Well, people are grilling up sausages and slicing ham and stuff. And but yeah, it was pretty cool. And Prague's a great city. So, if you get an excuse to get over there, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't really think of Prague as like a food city, but I mean, like, that's always what I liked about all the conferences in Barcelona in particular. There's some like type of relationship building that you can only do over like a 3-hour lunch. And like those, like the people that I had those long lunches with, like I may not talk to them anymore, but I will always remember them fondly till like the end days.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, food and drink are definitely a big piece of, kind of the strategy when you're talking about conferences. And it's one of the things, I'm a food guy and a whiskey guy, and I like good beer and stuff like that. So, it's definitely something where I have memories of a lot of different conferences and meals I've had with people, and, and talking about kind of how we approach shows, doing meals with our existing partners and with prospects and stuff like that. And, taking people out for drinks. It's a big part of, what we do. And, honestly, it was pretty funny when I got hired at Fanatics and I got my company card, and I was reading my company card agreement. And one of the things that said on there was like, under no circumstances will you bill alcohol on this card. And I was like, I go to the VP that hired me. I'm like, God, what do I do with this shit? I'm like, this doesn't, this is problematic. He's like, yeah, just cross that out. He's like, in the end, for what you do, you're a relationship guy, and so you're gonna buy some drinks for people. You're gonna take some people out for dinner. But he's like, here's my ROI target. Just make it work. And, if you're going to go out and, buy some drinks, just make sure people sell stuff, make sure that you get that, 10 to 1 ROI or whatever it is that your goal is. And, and you're fine, be reasonable, but at the same time, make sure you're going to get the ROI out of that. And, but it's a good way to be memorable. It's a good, if you're somebody that's into food, or you're into cocktails or you're into beer or whatever, that can be something that you can kind of play as part of your strategy when you're going to go to shows. And, I think a lot of, the way that I look at things, and I haven't had like what I would call kind of a traditional approach. I haven't done a lot of sponsorships at events, and that's what's kind of kind of interesting, is that I haven't done a lot of booths. Personally, I find booths to be kind of like a traditional show booth to be kind of a pain in the ass, because to me it means that I've got to stick my team in one place for 2 days where we're just there relying on whatever traffic comes by. I mean, obviously you can do some things that leverage people to come by. You can do giveaways and you can do promotions, or you could have a dramatically overpriced bar at your stand or whatever. But so for me, it takes a lot of the flexibility that I like in an event away from me. And so that's not really the way that I've chosen to work events in the past. A lot of what I look at is, number one, I want to line up a lot of meetings, and as many meetings with like both existing partners and with prospective partners as possible, whether that's like affiliates or whether that's technology solutions or whatever. I want to have meetings set up. Sometimes, we kind of free flow and we'll go and, have meetings wherever. Sometimes we'll get a suite, where we have one place where we can have everybody come meet us. And, a lot of it just kind of depends on like the layout, because, one of the things I'll say, a few years back in Vegas at Affiliate Summit, we did a suite over at Bally's. It was funny because on the floor that we were on, I think there's probably like 4 or 5 agencies and a couple other big brands. And so it's like the partners were just kind of making their rounds on that floor. So it was all right for them, because there was a lot of people they could meet with, but some of them were like, God, this is crazy, just running all over the place. But for us, it was fantastic, because we didn't have to run all over the place, and people could, we decorated up, we hung up a bunch of jerseys and stuff like that, had some fun with it, got some bottles, so we could have some drinks and, had fun with it. I've been to other shows where, people had suites and like there's a big game on, so they got a suite, they had a bar set up, they had some snacks, and just had people come up and, come through and either like had set meetings or had people that, would just wander through, and, they just put out a post on the socials and said, hey guys, we're up here in suite, 325 or whatever, come watch the game, have a beer. And that can be a totally, successful play. Because as long as you get the traffic through, you get the right people that you want to talk to, that could be a relatively low cost, way of doing it. And you got to be cost conscious on these things, of course, because anytime you try to do things where you're like booking a hotel, booking suites, or you're booking hospitality, booking food and bev and stuff like that, man, the cost can be nuts. And so, we usually try to do stuff that's a little, that's not necessarily your everyday run-of-the-mill stuff. I've got some things coming up that I'm pretty excited about, and some shows we're doing in Europe that we can definitely cover a little bit. But I think what I would, let's take this in a direction. Let's talk about like when you are going to go to an event, how do you do things that are on brand? And how do you,
before we get into that, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. So like, especially with like wining and dining, some of your favorite like affiliate partners, for like with those things, you can only invite so many people to like a dinner. How do you typically like sort of break out like who to invite to those dinners? Because like, that's the hard thing, is choosing who.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I think it's about kind of ROI goals, and it's about, how do you, are you like rewarding somebody who's a big time player? Are you, maybe having them plus having some prospects so that maybe you can get a little bit of rub from having them around to be able to tell some success stories. And so, in the end, if you can get a good mix together of people that are established and people that, might be up and coming, sometimes you'll try to, have somebody that might not even be a partner, but it might be somebody that those guys are going to want to meet, that they're going to want to talk to. And so you're just kind of putting this crowd together of people that you think are gonna vibe and make it a positive experience that everybody's gonna want to come to. But I kind of try to balance existing performance versus potential performance. And in the past, this was kind of a challenge for us, because when we were trying to get budget, we had a VP way back in the past year that he had been an affiliate previously, but he wasn't one of the affiliates that was real social. He didn't go to a lot of shows, or he didn't go and actually meet people face to face. And so he didn't see the value necessarily in that kind of wining and dining piece. But then when I brought in Joe, who works with me now, who's like a longtime affiliate, we kind of broke it down and said, look, man, I realized this wasn't your thing, but there's a lot of people out there that go to a lot of events and they're looking to build connections and build relationships. And if a partner is getting approached by two companies with the offer that's the same, and one of them has, taken somebody to a show last time they were in Vegas, or maybe took them out for a steak, or, took them out for some drinks, had a good night, the one that's built the relationship is probably going to have the first crack. And that's what we want. We want to have that opportunity. If all things are equal, they'll give us a shot. And I'm not saying to buy people or bribe people or whatever. I'm just saying build relationships.
Make them feel special.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Everyone likes to be invited to stuff. They want to show up at a conference and then have a book of activity automatically because they have great connections that want to invite them to stuff. Like, it's such a good way to show like gracious goodwill to people you appreciate.
Yeah, and especially when stuff that's going to be fun, stuff that might get you off of the beaten path. And like I said, I'm a food guy, I'm a whiskey guy. I like beer and stuff like that. And I've got other guys on my team that are also into food, and so we've kind of built a reputation as people that are cool to go out to dinner with. And so if the guys from Fanatics invite you to go out, you should check it out because it's probably going to be a pretty good time. And there's other people in the industry that are like that as well. Like Todd from Impact, amazing food guy, amazing, whiskey guy. And, Darren Blatt, D-Money from
famous.
Infamous, whatever. I mean, but he throws a hell of a party. And it's like, and it's funny because I had never been to an affiliate bash until I think I was at like MailCon or the last affiliate summit. I think I went to one. I got an award at MailCon, and then I got an AFI award, and then I went to the party at Affiliate Summit, and the dude throws a killer party. You got all these old school hip hop dudes showing up and throwing down, doing their thing, and so they're definitely a Paresh from Paresh Connect at all his events. These guys have built these brands on throwing the event, being the guys that you want to go to their show because you never know who's going to show up. You're going to have good drinks, you're going to have good music, the crowd's going to be cool. And so, those are, situations where people have definitely built a strategy around, hey, whenever you go to any major event, this party is going to be there. And so people look forward to it. And those guys are doing lead gen off it, obviously, because they're doing, people are RSVPing and giving their information. And so people can, follow up and you can see what you can do out of that. But so I think those are all kind of examples of smart plays. Brian from ShareSale, legendary parties. I mean, and the cool thing there was that it was really about putting together a cool group of people from both sides of the industry, publishers and advertisers, and maybe some other solution providers and things like that were complementary, and putting them in a cool place, great food, great drinks, but conversational. And that's where different people's approaches change, because some people just like to have all out parties. Some people like to have events where people can still have conversations, which to me, I'm a fan of, being able to have the conversation too. I mean, I like going out to clubs and stuff, but at the same time, if I'm at a show, if I've only got 2 days of time to connect with people, I want to have like every possible moment to be able to actually have a conversation with somebody, maybe talk a little bit of business, at least make a connection and, agree to, connect up following, but at least, be able to be in a situation where you can do some legitimate networking and, maybe do a little bit of selling.
Awesome. And like, sort of, where do you actually fit like this conference, like the entire like conference strategy into it, like your affiliate program? Like, how important is it? Like, where do you rate it as like one of the activities for growing a program?
Yeah, and to me, I think it's important. One of the things that I've always been a big fan of is meeting as many people that we work with face to face as I can. I think it's good for being able to get a really good relationship built with somebody and getting kind of a read on what they're all about. And when it comes to quality control, I want to look somebody in the eye, because I think it's a little bit harder for them to rip me off if we've, if we've actually sat down face to face and had a conversation. At least I hope it will be. Maybe I'm scared. Maybe I'll scare the hell out of them. They won't do it. Whatever works. But yeah, I think it's important. And I think the thing that people need to understand is that like events are really what you make of them. Because if you just go to an event and you don't have a strategy around it in terms of, hey, I've got these meetings, or I've got these people that I want to connect with, or I'm doing this event within the event, or, if you just go to show up, I mean, yeah, you might learn some stuff, you might make some connections accidentally, but I think to really get value out of it, you have to be kind of intentional with it. to where you've got things scheduled out. You've got as many meetings set up as you can. And you've got a goal with these things so that you can come out of it and be like, hey, we serviced X amount of business. We think we've got X amount of prospective business, looking ahead. And a lot of that depends on what you're doing. I mean, for me, I'm looking for publishers. And so I want to be able to, talk with as many publishers as I can, preferably ones that are the type that I would work with. I mean, when we go to shows now, we're pretty picky about our meetings. We have limited time to work with. And so, if somebody pitches me for a meeting that is from, does something that we're not into, we're going to pass because it's not going to be our thing. And so, we want to be respectful of their time. We want to respect our time. So we'll just say, hey, thanks, that's cool. But yeah, that doesn't look like a thing for us. But if, content publishers we want to meet with, email publishers we want to meet with. So everybody that's like one of the types of publishers that we want to chat with, we'll try to reach out to them before the show, or if they reach out to us through the show app or whatever, we'll try to get meetings set up. We'll definitely try to reach out to our key partners that are maybe in that market. So if we're going to New York, obviously New York has a lot of media publishers, the big brand media publishers. So we'll try to set stuff up with those guys. Maybe in that case, it might be, an offsite event, might be a dinner. We might do some meetings, like some lunch meetings where we actually leave the show and go out and meet in somebody's office or something like that. But one thing that's kind of cool that I'm starting to see now is that with like Affiliate Summit, PI Live, some of the bigger, kind of more general shows, those media partners are starting to come to the events, which is awesome because it means you don't have to run around quite as much. But at the same time, you still, with those key big partners, those are the ones that you might want to get off to the side a little bit so you're not competing with as many people for their attention. If they've done some big results, you might want to, take them out, have a kind of key partners dinner or something like that.
And how do you measure your own team's like sort of activities to make sure that like they're like the ones that you're choosing in some of these conferences are actually like getting the full value out of it and are like making sure that they're justifying why they go?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on what you're looking for them to do. Because I mean, with new team members, it might be that you're going there for them to get exposed to, to content. And so with them, I want to know kind of what their content strategy is going to be. And then I'll, if I see that, hey, there's a session that might be good for them that I don't see on their schedule, I might say, hey, you might want to check this out. And if it's more experienced people that are more on the biz dev side, I want to see going in, it's like, what do you have set up for meetings? And, who's current, who's prospective, I want to see that there's a plan in place where they're looking to expand the portfolio or service the existing portfolio, and then be able to follow up after that. We're gonna, we'll tag up our leads, coming out of a show in our CRM, tag it with the source to that event, and then be able to kind of report back against that moving forward to see, if the show, turned out for us, if it produced, good ROI. And look at it a lot. It's really kind of tricky anymore because, depending on the type of partners you work with, sometimes you're not going to have, like for us, if we work with a lot of like niche sports content publishers, there's not a lot of those at Affiliate Summit. And so, we'll catch the more kind of general types of publishers, maybe some of the media guys, maybe a few of the coupon and cashback guys that we do work with, our loyalty guys that we do work with. But if we can find some of those niche content guys, I mean, yeah, we'll absolutely meet with them at the show. We might even do something, extra. We might, do something where we invite people out that just happen to be local and say, hey guys, we're going to be in town for Affiliate Summit. You might not, we'll give them publisher passes or, tell them how to get free passes if they want to attend. But if they don't, or if they can't, it'll be like, hey, we're going to get together and have drinks at this bar, or hey, we're going to go to a Yankee game. We're going to get a suite. We're going to, or we're going to get a ticket block. If you want to go, let me know and we'll put something together. But yeah, we'll try to kind of find that. Sometimes where it can get really interesting is if you start going into kind of nichier, more focused shows. And we've had some fun in the past. There what used to be a show in Boston called the Sports Blogapalooza that a local sports blogger put together. And this is one of my favorites because Boston is, it's a crazy sports town. These guys are maniacs and I love them. That's the kind of sports fan I am. And he had put together kind of a long-standing event for bloggers in Boston. And they would get together, once a year, drink some beer, hang out, talk sports and stuff like that. So I came in and said, well, hey, I want to sponsor this. What's available? And that was cool because, for a fraction of what I would pay for a meat market table at Affiliate Summit, I'm able to get in front of 100 sports bloggers. And so whether it's just, hey, I'll buy the drinks, or, we'll do a happy hour, we'll buy the drinks for an hour, or, hey, we want to do a 30-minute session on monetizing your blog before the event that's open to anybody that wants to come. And then we're going to sponsor the happy hour, something like that. And that kind of stuff can really build some cool goodwill. And that can happen in any niche. Because there's all kinds of different kind of niche. So, there's all kinds of niche shows. There's food shows, there's arts and crafts shows, there's, so there's all kinds of places where you can go to meet up with people who are creating content in your niche. And so it's just kind of a matter of looking around, understanding the space that you're in, whether you want to start off locally or regionally, or whether you want to, find the big show. For us, I was just out at a sports gaming show because we're getting into, sports betting here before too long. Haven't operated in that world for like 10 years. So I wanted to go out and just, what the hell is up with this? What's up with this space? What do I need to know? Who do I need to know? There was a show in New Jersey, beautiful Secaucus, New Jersey. I went from Barcelona to Secaucus in a week. But it was cool. It was, great, lots of great people, lots of smart people doing cool content, great meetings. And you just have to do a little bit of Google research. And I've found other shows like that as well.
So question on that last show, when you attend these more niche, obviously like the Sports Palooza type one, like that's a very specific niche one.
Yeah.
But say if you attended like the sports betting type shows, is it a totally different type of like affiliate and partners you're meeting there? And like, does it feel like it's additive value, or is it sort of just like getting the lay of the land? What are your thoughts on that?
That one for me, actually, I think it's going to have great value. And it was very cool because from a content perspective, I definitely got, some good insights. Actually it was kind of fun to hear people bring up our name, given that we're kind of a big gorilla in the market and people are thinking about us entering that space. So, there's a lot of discussion around it. But I was also able to connect with some current partners that we have that are doing really well with us on the merch side, but are actually specialized on the gaming side, who I think are going to be my big players when we do launch betting. And so it was cool to get one-on-one with those guys, be able to hash out, kind of what we have in mind or what might be coming down the road. And to also, some of those guys introed me to other guys that are going to be prospects. And, there were some others that came to me through the show app, or that I found through the show app. And, it actually, I think it turned out to be good, all around. It wasn't just content. I actually had a hard time because there was a lot of content that I wanted to catch, but at the same time, if somebody that's like a high value potential publisher hits me up, I got to meet him. I've got to spend some time talking to him. And so I actually had to dive out of some sessions and have some conversations, but, in the end, I think it's going to absolutely work out.
That's awesome. There's two things I want to sort of put a pin on because I think they're really interesting. So the first one is, as you start to have different offerings, like going back to your existing partners, and like, especially if you find out that they're going to be attending like niche shows where you're now offering something new, like that's genius. Like, I'm sure you have so many partners where if you didn't have a reason to bring up sports betting, like they may have been too busy to ever like ask about it once you roll it out. But now you have that established relationship and they're thinking about you when you roll this out. So I think that in itself super interesting. And then the second thing I want to ask you is just sort of like, how do you go about this like introduction thing where you're having partners introducing you to other potential partners? Like, how do those conversations come about?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I think a lot of it is really industry dependent, because some industries are more cutthroat than others, and in some you get to the point where some of the big players, I mean, they've got mutual respect. I mean, they've all got a nice, a nice chunk of the business carved out for themselves. And so some people are just generous with referrals, and so maybe they got a buddy that works for somebody else, and they're just like, well, hey, this guy, you might want to have a conversation. These guys are doing some cool stuff. In a lot of cases, they'll be working a different angle. So maybe, one has a review site, one of them has more of a social media play. And so they're like, well, hey, these guys do something a little different than we do. It might be interesting to you. So maybe, I'll introduce you guys over a drink and, see what happens. But we don't really have, it's not like we're doing it on like a referral basis where, hey, we'll give you a kickback on referring this guy to me. But, definitely if somebody intros me to somebody who works out really well, it might be worth a dinner down the road, or, a bottle of whiskey or something like that for sure. I mean, it just, kind of one of those things.
Yeah, I'm a big believer with all like partnership programs that one of the big things is just having a formal way to ask.
Yeah.
So just making sure, like, I mean, this is especially from the B2B SaaS side, but you want to be asking like your customers, hey, is there anyone else that would benefit from using our solution? You want to like build some way where they can volunteer that information when they come top of mind. So it's always interesting to sort of explore, like, how do you get people that would be happy to share? Like, how do you actually bring up that in a conversation? Because people love to help other people. It's just, you need to get them thinking about that.
Yeah, and I think we bump into that in kind of the sports side, because there's a lot of people out there that create content sites around a team or something like that. And there's a lot of kind of informal networks where guys from around the country that have team-based blogs kind of network together and help each other out with issues. Maybe they share a tech platform, or maybe they just kind of send traffic around where if somebody asks them, hey, I'm into you guys have a cool White Sox site, I'm into the Yankees, who's got a good site for that, they might refer somebody off. And so in a lot of cases, those guys end up kind of coming to us in groups where we'll have somebody that'll have a good experience with us, and they'll be like, hey, I talked to my buddy, I got an LSU site, I talked to my buddy that's got a Florida site, he'll be in touch. And and if you've got somebody that's got a good experience like that, especially, and what I'll say is that I'm not sure how long you've been doing this. Do you remember like days of like A-Best Web and discussion boards and stuff like that? But with ABW, I mean, everybody was about their secret sauce, and nobody wanted to their identity known or any of this stuff. But I think the market, I think it's changed in a lot of cases, because and especially with us, with some of like the more content community kind of plays that we're involved in, you can't replicate that. I mean, there's not a secret sauce to that lets people steal that idea and replicate it overnight. You got to spend months or years to build up a community by creating quality content, or engendering this cool interaction and discussion, and bringing in good information and stuff like that, to be able to build the trust and to give people the why. And I talk with that about my affiliates, a lot, is give people the why. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so you're going to jump into my program, you're going to join up, and you're going to start pushing product. Well, if you haven't built a trusted relationship with your audience, who cares? So what? You're pushing product. Why? And why should they buy it? Why should they buy it through your link? Well, if you're the one that's creating this awesome content around their team, and you give them a place they can come every day, talk to other fans, get the best news on their team, then you come to them and say, hey, thanks for being a fan. If you want to support me in this, doing what I do, take some resources. And if you want to help me out, if you're going to buy your fan gear, buy it through my link to Fanatics. That works, period. Podcasts, blogs, discussion boards, that works. And so give them the why. And if you're able to do that, I think at that point, it's not a competitive thing anymore necessarily, to where you're competing with other people that do what you do. It's more, hey, I'm going to provide the best experience possible for my audience. They're going to support me. And it's like, if I have, another content creator out there that doesn't really necessarily step on my toes, and they come to me and say, hey, I see you're doing this thing with Fanatics, how do I get into that? Then they're going to say, hey, cool, talk to Wade, talk to Joe, talk to their team. And, and getting that rub from them helps. And, the bigger partnerships you can develop, or people are willing occasionally, and I'll say occasionally because you don't want to burn somebody out, given references or anything like that. But if you can find, a big player like that who will, give a good word for you every once in a while, that can be a really powerful thing, because, people like social proof. They like to know that somebody else did it and it worked out, especially if it's somebody they respect, or somebody that's bigger than them. And, we've seen that happen with, newspapers, where we go after a newspaper partnership and they're like, well, I don't know, this whole affiliate thing seems a little dicey, and we like to do, paid ads. And it's like, well, God, if it worked for Chicago Tribune, do you think it might work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did they do it? Yeah, Houston Chronicle. Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can give this a try. So
that's super interesting. I think there's a really good point to be made there, which is just that, like, especially for your content producers, like those content affiliates, like, no one will ever do what they do. There's no secret sauce there. It's just they are creating something that is their voice and their publication. Like, they don't compete with other companies in the space that much. And so, like, the ability to sort of ask referrals and to reach a entire community is very different for that type of affiliate relationship. So, like, in those ones especially, like, you can probably just ask them, like, hey, is there anyone else that that like we can see that you're generating a bunch of money promoting our product, and like this is helping your business. Is there anyone else you can recommend that would also benefit from it to like promote in the same way? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that one of the other things that's really cool about the affiliate industry is that, once you kind of get ingrained, it's an ever larger world, but it's still a small world. And so if you kind of manage your personal brand, if you're somebody that's, helpful to others and you get along well with people and you're personable and everything, and you do business the right way, we do a lot of sharing ideas. We do a lot of, hey, this guy works out really well for me. You're doing something that's not competitive. Maybe you should talk to him. There's a lot of, kind of cooperation along those lines. There's also a lot of really cool collaboration that goes on, like in the bar at events. I've had some of my best things I've ever learned have been sitting around with a bunch of other affiliate managers, or with some affiliate managers and some affiliates and some content or some other, service providers, just sitting around in the bar riffing on ideas. And we've actually like built sessions at Affiliate Summit. We did one called Affiliate Improv that we did a couple times. It was really cool. And it was just based out of, what we would do after hours. We would sit around at the bar and drink and talk to people, and they would throw an idea out like, hey, I got this idea for a site. And then you'd have somebody that was an affiliate manager, somebody that was like a video content specialist, somebody that was a social media specialist. And we would all just kind of spitball ideas around. And before too long, this person's got a business model that they can run out. And so we would actually did that as a session where we would take like live, hey, throw an idea out there. What's the topic? And then we would have, people coming from 3 or 4 different sides of the industry and throwing ideas out there, and even sometimes ideas from the audience. And, it's a pretty cool collaborative space. And it's a lot of fun once you're able to kind of get dug in a little bit to where you've got some relationships, and you'll get to the point where, maybe you're, just hanging out, in between sessions, and somebody brings somebody over and says, hey, this guy has this site that I think would be really cool for you. You guys should have a conversation. Makes the intro, takes off. So that, I think that's one of the big values of actually getting to face-to-face events, is that you can have interactions like that. You can get that face-to-face, because once you've had that face-to-face conversation, I think they're a lot more likely to give a try to whatever it is that you were discussing, versus if you just had like email conversations or, social media chat, something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And actually, I heard the same thing from Daniela at HubSpot. And she was saying that one of the things that she's found very successful is that, like, she'll talk with other affiliate managers and they'll swap some of their best partners, because, I mean, especially these shows, most of the people you're talking to, they're also affiliate managers, are not in a space that's competitive at all. And even if they are in a space that's competitive as all, we know that, like, affiliates don't work like a lot of other fields. Like, if affiliate is successful in your vertical, they want to promote as many things in the vertical as possible, as long as they can do it scalably. Like, the more experience they have, the easier it is for them to promote multiple products. So even if you were a direct competitor, your affiliate, depending on the promotion method, is pretty likely to actually scale up more if they start making more money through your competitor as well, as long as you're still giving them something competitive, like a good payout, you're not
Right.
making them feel jaded or anything. Like as they are more successful in your space, like they can ramp up the promotions for everyone. It's not competitive in that way.
Right. No, I agree. Absolutely agree. And I definitely have, cases like that where I've pushed people to other managers I know. And a vetted lead is amazing. I mean, when you got somebody that, when you know how somebody runs their programs and they come to you and say, hey, this guy's done really well with me, super above board, you should check them out. It's pretty cool to have that kind of filtered lead coming in.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's just a ton to explore there. I've never really thought about it in terms of like when you go to the conference, like, hey, like just be meeting with like your peers that are not even just like your friends there, because there's just so much knowledge sharing, and so much of this stuff is like affiliate marketing in some ways doesn't change, like the fundamentals don't change, but the opportunities are constantly changing, and a lot of stuff like it won't work or it'll burn itself out, but there's always opportunities, and the people that are authentic and like treat other people with respect, like they're still going to be here 3 years, 5 years down the line. They may be doing something completely different, but these relationships don't go away.
Yeah, there's a surprising number of people that I still do stuff with that I've known for over 15 years. There's a few that are over 20 now, to where we've literally grown up together in the business, and our kids have grown up, while we were in the business. And it's pretty cool because we've got this trust level where they're pretty much family. And so, there've been situations where, on a totally other angle where, pretty much every opportunity, every like job or every like business that I've started or, in the last 18 years has come because of people that I met at shows and relationships that I built at shows. And whether that was, getting a gig, getting hired by a company, or whether it was, I was tired of working for companies and, had a couple of business partners that, got together and said, yeah, we're all tired of this shit. Let's do our own thing, and put an idea together, at a show, launched the business at a show, sold the first 5 clients at an event. And, I can tie all that back to actually getting out to events, even Fanatics. I mean, the guy that was there before me, got a replacement in, and the guy didn't work out, but he was like, hey, I know you're a sports guy. I know this is what, you're looking for. You might be looking for an opportunity. You should check this out. And, that's how I ended up here. And that's how I've hired, a couple people from my team, is there people that I knew from events that I actually got a chance to meet face to face and, got a feel for what they were about. And so they're definitely, they're valuable for more than just, potentially meeting partners. It can be, about opening yourself up to opportunities as well. And, like I said, it's about, getting your name out there, building a personal brand, treating people right, getting the reputation for being somebody that does that. And, we've got, with people that have been around for, as long as I have, we've got this really tight knit kind of almost, like I said, family. And there have been situations where we acquired, before one affiliate summit, we had acquired a company, and they decided that they wanted to have a marketing summit, pulled all the whole company together on the marketing side. And I was supposed to speak at affiliate summit, and I back out at the last minute. And the founder, Missy Ward, the co-founder of Affiliate Summit, that I've known since 2001, I think. And she calls me up. She's like, hey, do I need to be like looking around for you? It's like, because I saw you bailed out at the last minute. I saw you guys have been doing some acquisitions and stuff. Is there anything I need to be looking out for, like in the event that I needed a gig? And I was like, no, it's all cool, but it's awesome that you were thinking of me that way. But those communities exist to where it's like, if you're looking for an opportunity, if you're one of the people that just got downsized, and there's a few people in the last couple of weeks that have got let go. I mean, might not be a bad thing to go to an event, because there's a lot of people that are looking too. Mm-hmm. And when I first got really into the industry and like went to my first event, this affiliate force back in 2001, 2002, I think, when we were still doing shows on a cruise ship going out of Miami into the Bahamas, when there was still like 200 of us in the industry. When I got in on that, I had made a contact into a company called Cowabunga Technologies. I was out of work. I was looking for a gig, and I'm like, hey, we've got this idea for starting an outsourced agency within this company. I can do this, get me to the show. And the guy's like, well, if you pay for the, I'll pay for the cruise if you get there. I'm like, I can't do either one of them. It's like, you get me there and I'll sell the project. And I went there and closed like 5 deals. And so desperation could be a powerful thing, but, sold myself into a job, going to an event. And a lot of the people that were at that event are still in the industry, and there's still people that I run with now. So that whole networking thing is pretty powerful, and the connections that you can make can have some pretty cool long-term, ramifications for you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And I think one of the fun things about being on Everflow side is that we are reaching a bunch of different markets at the same time. And it's fun to see the parallels, because I mean, internally, we're like a B2B SaaS company. So we're selling to other B2B companies. So I consume a lot of like B2B content. And it's been fascinating in like the last year, like B2B partnerships has become like the super hot, trendy thing. There's a bunch of technologies that have really enabled it to be moving much faster with a lot more data being shared to the team. And it's just fun to like see this versus like the B2C world, because other than like the words that are being used, the like go to market is not very different, and sort of the value statements and like how you actually build these relationships, like it's the same for all of these, but like these worlds are all starting to intersect. Like these skill sets that you're building here are just as applicable for like a B2B SaaS partnership program, and they're just learning this for the first time. So like that's now the hot trendy space. It's a fun time to be in the space for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the different types of shows, because I know you had that on your list of things you wanted to talk about. And, one of the first places that I would start is like network or platform events. Because like most of the SaaS platforms or most of the established affiliate networks will have their own user events. These ones are good for me because they tend to attract kind of best the best. And so it's kind of the high end players that are, with that network or platform. So like Impact did their Impact experience. CJ has CJU, Rakuten has their, their awards show and their Connect event. But those are awesome. And the funny thing that I've found is that in a lot of cases, if you're a relatively, major player, sometimes people they'll invite you across platforms or networks to where, I don't work with the Rakuten tracking platform, but our Rakuten, rewards people said, hey, you guys should come to our event, have some meetings and stuff like that. So, those are interesting. It's also from me as somebody who uses the tools, it's cool to see what everybody has going on, because, there might be something that is useful that's going on in terms of the platform that's evolving. But if nothing else, it gives you a chance to keep up the speed on what they're doing, what the technology, evolution looks like, where they're going, how they're thinking about the business, making sure that it looks the same way that you're wanting the business to go. And then also you'll be able to have those conversations with other kind of top performers, both at the event, at any kind of outside the event shows. Those ones have been really good for me. Love those.
In my agency days, I used to go to all those, and like they are fantastic. Like they are by far the best starting place to get your foot into the industry, just because they're way more tight knit. It's really easy to meet a couple of valuable relationships and really go deep. Whereas I think the next one you'll get to is sort of like the bigger set, and like they're both valuable, but it's good to have some close relationships before you try and go super wide.
Because I mean, with your like platform events, you might be, on the big side, maybe 500.
Yep.
But those ones, like you said, much more tight knit. Pretty high barrier to entry. Because in a lot of cases, they're actually they're paying for people to go. So I mean, they're going to control their budget a little bit, and they're going to have kind of best of the best to attract the people that they want to get there. From there, I mean, you start looking at the bigger stuff, like your affiliate summit, your PI Live, affiliate world. I mean, these are all major shows. I mean, affiliate summit, usually I think they're running anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 now, depending on the venue. Like Vegas tends to be a little bigger. New York this year actually felt like it was probably, I think the biggest New York one I've been to, probably 4,000. Mm-hmm. Affiliate World was like, I think 5,000 or 6,000. Affiliate World. And
they were saying it was 2 to 3 times for Dubai. There was like 8,000, 9,000 people, which is crazy big. It was a really amazing show.
Yeah, so those are big time events, but when you're doing an event of that scale, it means that to take advantage of it, you really need to have a plan because it can be really easy to get overwhelmed. And, I think one of the things that I was looking to take out of Affiliate World in Barcelona this year is just to see who the players were, to see maybe if there's a way to kind of get in there through content, because, if nothing else, if you're somebody that's got some interesting content to contribute and you can get in on the content stage, that can definitely draw some interesting leads your way. People that want to have that conversation, after your event, off to the side or whatever, that can be a good way to do it. We were looking, I had been approached by those guys to sponsor. They had like a virtual, like a goal kick simulator. And being a sports company, we were like, damn, that's a cool idea. That'd be really on brand because we got World Cup this year and, Premier League and La Liga and Bundesliga were getting ready to kick off. And so we're like, man, that'd be really cool. But I didn't quite have the budget for it. And then I went and saw the booth and I was like, damn it, this is cool. And I saw I saw the engagement level. So I was like, I gotta figure out a way to do this. And so I think we might be doing some of that coming up. I think it's PI Live. But it was so on brand and there's so much cool stuff you could do with it in terms of rebranding the whole experience that, so I think about, how do I get meetings? If I'm going to do a booth or if I'm going to do like a stand or whatever, the display, how do I engage people? Because I don't want to just be reliant on people walking in circles and going up and down the aisles. I want to actually have some way to attract people to me. So if you're going to do something as interactive like that, you got to put the word out there. Hey, we're doing this thing. It's fun. It's interactive. But then you also got to have cool prizes. So you got to have, either like a cash giveaway, merchandise giveaway, collectibles, something like that to get the buzz going, because you want people to be like seeking out what you're doing. And then that's going to drive your lead gen to where, you can scan people in or whatever when they come back to take their kick and, enter to win their reward. But
so
that was
on that one. Yeah. Like, how do you, because like the annoying thing about having really good swag is then you just have a bunch of people that come over to like just grab your swag and don't want to talk to anyone. And like, those are the people you didn't want to talk to either. How do you think about sort of like getting the right type of people to stop by your booth, or do you not worry about it? It's just more like people.
Yeah, and I think we try to work it from the standpoint of working the app and stuff like that to get publishers over. To try to really put it out there as like, hey, this is a publisher focused thing. And so I think you got to do as much as you can to try to be proactive to get those types of people to your booth, and also to work with the conference and see, a lot of cases, if you're like a premium sponsor like that, there's ways that they'll, share the show or the attendee list or something like that, to where you can then get that segmented list where you got, these 2,500 people that were at the event that were, that are publishers. Versus just, everybody else that's there, maybe they're people with CPA networks or whatever that you're never going to do business with. And that was always a concern when I was doing parties at shows. It's like, well, you go and put out a sign up for a RSVP request for a limited party where you've got, 50 spots in a bar. And then you have, one CPA network signs up and wants to bring 9 people. It's like, guys, I'm not going to work with you ever. I'm not going to buy 9 of your people drinks. So we'll pass. But I think you got to kind of keep your eye on the prize and try to make sure that you're being proactive and trying to find the audience that you want to have coming by your table, and or by, if you're doing an interactive thing like that, it's like, hey, publishers enter to win. Maybe make it a little bit restrictive. Make publishers only, or whoever it is that you're looking to work with, have them be the ones that are that are eligible to win the big prize. Because obviously if you're kicking out something that's got big value to somebody that's never going to be of any any kind of business connection to you, it's not a great idea.
Awesome. And then outside of like the direct company conferences and the big conferences, what other things have you been testing out, and what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some niche shows like we talked about. whether it's like a sports blog show for us, or whether it's, other kind of more niche within the business, like a MailCon or AffyCon that, Darren just kicked off in LA, Contact.io, where they might not necessarily be like affiliate specific, but there's going to be affiliates there. Because, there's a lot of emailers that do affiliate, there's a lot of SEO people that do affiliate. So maybe like a like a PubCon or something like that, it's not a bad place to be for affiliate managers, because there's going to be people there that are going to, be speaking that language. Publishing shows, for newspapers and other big media sites. Now that more big media sites are doing affiliate, finding shows where those guys are, I think totally makes sense. I even like, there's also some kind of bigger, less focused, kind of more marketing angled shows like an e-tail. E-tail tends to be one where lots of people from the affiliate business come together, because there's a lot of the solution providers are there. There's a lot of, they'll do I did a speaking thing at e-tail in Palm Springs the day before the actual show kicked off, where it was like a brand specific thing that was pretty cool, that I thought, had a pretty good audience and had a great session. Kind of co-presenting and doing some Q&A after, and some roundtables, and kind of riffing on ideas with people. That was really cool. But it's really, in the end, the question you have to ask yourself is, where's my audience?
Yep.
And go where that audience is, because that's where content creators that appeal to that audience are going to be. And is sometimes the not necessarily obvious stuff is actually the better stuff to do. Because like with the sports blog thing, that was cool because it was super targeted to us. It had 100 players that we could work with, and there was no competition.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else was vying for their attention with us. We're the ones that came in, bought the drinks. They're willing to listen to you for 15 to 20 minutes if you bought the drinks. And so and if you come in there and get them with a good piece of hard hitting content, like, hey, this is how you can make money with your blog, they're like, oh, okay, cool, let's do that. So that was a cool one. But if you can get out to some of these other shows, and I'm always pleasantly surprised when I get to an event where there's lots of potential publishers I can work with, but there's maybe only one or two other people there talking performance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's an affiliate network, maybe it's a SaaS platform, maybe it's like one or two other merchants, but it's not 100 of us competing for the same 10 people. And when you're able to kind of get out and find those concentrations of potential publishers where everybody hasn't already mined it out, it's magic. It's really, really cool.
And do you have any thoughts on like traffic and conversions?
I've been around that one in the past. I think it's definitely worth going to. I think there's some good stuff there. I mean, you just have to be careful around making sure that you've got the right publishers there for you. But it's a well-produced event for sure. And there's more and more shows springing up. I think the kind of interesting thing that I'm seeing in the space now is that I think that there's a lot of other kind of peripherally related shows that are starting to see that there's room for performance content. Mm-hmm. And so like MailCon last year, they had a couple of us talking affiliate. And you're starting to see more shows like that where they're sliding in affiliate content into like an email show or into a traffic and conversion show or something like that. And I think that people, as I would say, as Affiliate Summit transition from being kind of original Sean and Missy Affiliate Summit to being Clarion run, mm-hmm. I think some people saw an opportunity in that. You definitely see that because PI Live, which for my money is an amazing show. The London version of it's incredible, and they just did their first US show, and they're coming back in April. Mm-hmm. But for retailers, PI Live, fantastic. I mean, and they're coming to the US now. But the funny thing is, like, you go to these events and you see the organizers of these competing events that are just hanging out at each other's shows. And so, I mean, yeah, it's competitive, but I think everybody gets that there's a lot of room in this space. There's a lot of money to be made. People are just looking for as many places as they can to be able to connect face to face. And so I don't think that people are looking to shut those things out. They would rather kind of cross promote and just be able to run in the same circles, because in the end, exhibitors are gonna kick down either way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I mean, it does really just boil down to where is your audience that you want to reach? Because as we tested out a lot of different conferences this year, and we found some where it's like, we would mention things like partner programs, no resonance. We mention affiliate programs, they'd be like, oh yeah, we do have someone who manages affiliate programs at our company. And then like they had no connection to it. Like I feel like that's the hardest part with all affiliate and partnerships, is like sometimes it gets so siloed in the company. Whereas if you speak to anyone else, like they have no idea what's going on there. They have no interest. And so it's like really figuring out like, where are the people who they'll look good if you help them be successful. And those are the shows to go to.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is that, I mean, not every show that I've gone to this year has been a winner. I mean, it really has been kind of an exploration year for me because, you know, I think I had the US audience or the US situation pretty figured out because I've been doing this for a long time. I've been to, you know, pretty much all the network events. I've been to all the summits and all that stuff. But exploring internationally has been interesting, and even starting to explore kind of other industries where there's crossover has been really interesting.
Mhm.
And, you know, getting a little bit out of the kind of, you know, tunnel vision kind of a situation that's easy to get in, just thinking, hey, this is, you know, these three shows are the only ones I need to be at. In the end, it's probably not the truth, but, you know, I went out and probably hit, you know, 9 or 10 shows, and of those, you know, there's going to be 4 or 5 that I'll probably go back to. There's some of them that, you know, had some value, but it's just not what I would necessarily, you know, probably look to invest in. And what I would say is that if you're looking to explore, you know, you don't necessarily have to hit them hard. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to sponsor something. I mean, if nothing else, you know, go check it out as kind of a solo. I mean, line up whatever meetings you can and stuff like that, but go and get a feel for the vibe of it and see if the audience is right for you. And then be kind of picky about, you know, how you want to do your sponsorship, because to me, like I said, the whole doing the booth thing, if it's just getting a 10 by 10 and standing around and talking to people, that's not going to be for me. That's not going to be for my team. You know, it's not what our brand is about. And so I would say, try to find ways that you can be leveraging your brand as a company, leveraging your brand personally, to where if you're like a great food or wine person, do some stuff around that, because that's what you know. You know, if you're a sports person, take people out, you know, to a game. I mean, if you're into shooting or whatever, you're going to Vegas, hell, let's go shoot some machine guns, man. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do that can engage people, and kind of, but try to work it around your brand and what you're into, because then you're going to have a much better time with it. I mean, and it's going to resonate with people that, hey, I went to these guys' event, you know, it was great, it was fun. You know, one of the best times I've ever had, I went to AvantLink.
Mm-hmm.
They used to do their network event. We used to work with those guys. They leveraged their location in Park City better than any other network, period. I mean, because those guys are like, we have this killer outdoor playground, got lots of great activities.
That's so cool.
They had one where they were going to do like a scavenger hunt around Park City.
Mm-hmm.
As it turned out, the weather was bad, they couldn't do that, and so they came up with a couple options. They're like, okay, so we got like 2 hours at the Park City gun range, or you could go and do the wine and canvas thing. And they figured that, you know, a lot of the women would go do that, but all the women wanted to shoot. And so we ended up going to the gun range for like 2 hours, and it was fantastic. We were shooting like 50 caliber sniper rifles and, you know, fully automatic stuff. It was a blast, and everybody had a killer time with it. And at the end of it, you know, they had paid for, you know, X number of rounds. And so we were just sitting in the pistol range, and we would go and pop off 19 rounds in a Glock, and they would throw another clip in, and we were just shooting as long as we could. But it was super fun. Everybody that went there will always remember it. And, you know, make your stuff memorable like that. I mean, try to find ways that you can, you know, kind of connect with people on some kind of, you know, visceral level, and have events that are memorable, whether that's a great meal, whether that's, you know, great cocktails, whether that's going to a great game. You know, being on the speakers group at Affiliate Summit ruined me for going to baseball games, because they kept getting suites at Yankee Stadium or whatever. And going to games other ways is tough, you know, after you've done that. But I mean, find ways that you can really kind of, you know, do something that, you know, no matter how many people you're having out there, whether it's, you know, like one key partner, or whether it's, you know, 25 people, find a way that you're going to have like a memorable interaction with them, to where, you know, you're going to leave them with an experience that when you call them up to say, hey guys, let's do this, they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. You know, we got a good relationship. I think we can make that go. And, you know, every little bit helps.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it. I mean, it's just that if you build a relationship that like is memorable and lasts, and it's a little, I mean, it's way deeper than you'll ever build just through talking on email and call, like it makes a huge difference. And the great thing about this industry is like those relationships last. And even if it's not with the publishers themselves, it's with anyone in this industry where you build something that's like a deep relationship, like all sides benefit. It's a very much like we can help each other be successful.
Yeah, that's one really fun thing. The last time I was in New York for Affiliate Summit, Hannah from Summit invited us out to a dinner, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to put a twist on this." She's like, "Yeah, we got this crew that's known each other for a long time." She's like, "I want everybody to bring somebody new," which I love. And so I would encourage you to do stuff like that. It's where I mean, it's very easy to get cliquish. It's very easy to kind of run with the same people, but try to find ways that you can kind of, you can kind of expand that circle. And one of the things that I challenge my team with is that, hey, it would be very easy for us to like hang out at these events 24/7 just in our group. But it's like, that's not what this is about. This is about networking. This is about, you need to go out and meet your own circle of people. Mm-hmm. And so, start to build your context, your network. I've got mine, go out and build yours and start building out your back in the day, it used to be Rolodex, showing my age, but build out your context list. And because I mean, in this industry, it's very much that's a huge piece of your value is like, who do you know, who do you have good relationships with, that if you move on to another role next week, it's like, where do you start? And it's like, if you got a good batch of connections that you've got good relationships with that you can leverage for what you're doing, that you've built through going to shows and stuff like that, that's a really powerful thing.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up with that. Wade, as always, thanks for coming on, sharing your hard-won expertise over the years, and just like getting to just really like helpful advice. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Bye.